Our final example, example 10, is actually an application example. So it says Hector and Jeremy want to make some CDs for their band, Goat Cheese Pizza. Jeremy figures it would cost $399 to produce 1,000 CDs. Hector figures it would cost $54.25 to produce 15 CDs. They are both correct. You're going to write an equation to find the cost, C, of producing CDs, N. So first thing we need to do is determine what our X and our Y variables are representing, because they're telling us to use these variables C and N for cost and number of CDs, and we got to know how to match up which one of those is representing Y coordinates, which one of those is representing X coordinates. This goes back to this whole idea of independent versus dependent variables. Just as a reminder, we should know that the independent variable is always representing X. It is the variable that's kind of controlling the situation. The dependent variable is always representing Y, and that is the one that is dependent upon the information X. So in this particular situation, we've got two things. We've got cost and number of CDs. So we're saying, does the cost depend on the number of CDs produced, or does the number of CDs produced depend on the cost? Well, that is something that's honestly debatable, but in this particular situation, they're trying to see what the cost is based upon the number of CDs they produce. So, if the number of CDs being produced is the thing controlling the situation, that's going to be X, and the cost is dependent upon that. The cost is going to be Y. So, Y is equal to our cost. X is equal to the number of CDs being produced. So instead of using X and Y, when we write our final function, our final equation, Y is going to be represented by C, and X is going to be represented by N. So after all of this has been explained, we still need to figure out how on earth we're going to write this equation. Well, ingrained in this paragraph, they're actually providing us with two ordered pairs. The first ordered pair is the cost $3.99 based upon producing 1,000 CDs. So I've got the ordered pair 1,000, comma, 399. Now if there was some change, I would include the decimal, but since there isn't, I'm not going to do it with this one. The other ordered pair is saying that 15 CDs, the cost to produce 15 CDs is $54.25. So those are our two ordered pairs. Now we need to find the slope of the line between those 2 points using our slope formula. So we've got 54.25 minus 399 over 15 minus 1,000. So in our numerator, we've got 54.25 minus 399, so we'll need to subtract that. 54.25 minus 399 gives us negative 344.75. On the bottom, we've got 15 minus 1,000, which gives us a negative 985. We know that a negative divided by negative is a positive, and usually we have been leaving our slope as a fraction. Well, this is where you kind of got to take it to the next level and understand that this is now an application problem. I don't just need a fraction because I'm doing rise over run and graphing a line. I actually need like a cost, a rate per CD. So I'm going to actually calculate this out to figure out what the cost is per CD. So we're going to divide negative 344.75 by negative 985 to find out that our rate of change is 0.35 over 1. So that is telling us that if the Y variables are cost, and the bottom, the X variables are number of CDs, it costs 35 cents to produce 1 CD. So we have our rate of change, our slope. So now that we have our slope, 0.35, says use the slope and a point to write a function that models the cost, C of n, in terms of the number of CDs produced, n. So we're really trying to write a linear equation. It's a linear function, and we're just using different variables, but it's the same information. C of n is the cost dependent upon the number of CDs. That's really just our y. And n is the number of CDs, which is really just our x. So we've got two ordered pairs to choose from. We can pick either one of these ordered pairs. It does not matter. We could go with the whole numbers that don't have a decimal, or we could go with the smaller numbers that do have a decimal. I'll use the point 15, 5425. So we've got 15, 5425. That's the point I chose. That's going to represent our x and our y while we are trying to find the y-intercept. We already found the slope. We need the y-intercept. So we're going to continue to use this formula that the y-intercept can be found from y minus m times x. So the y-intercept is equal to y, which is 5425, minus m, which is 0.35, times x, which is 15. We've got to do our multiplication first based upon order of operations. So 0.35 times 15 comes out to be 5.25. So our y-intercept is found from 5425 minus 525. And that is going to give us a y-intercept of 49. So when we write our equation, we've got our slope, we've got our y-intercept. So we're not just going to write it as y equals mx plus b because they tell us to use c of n in place of y and n in place of x. So we've got c of n, so the cost dependent upon the number of CDs produced, can be found by 35 cents per CD plus an initial cost of 49. So this is our equation for the line. This is really also a linear function that can help us find the total cost based upon the number of CDs produced. Okay, so C of n equals 0.35n plus 49. So it says, what does the slope of this equation represent? Well, we already said that that's representing our cost per CD. So it means it is 35 cents per CD produced. What does the y-intercept of this equation represent? Well, the y-intercept is happening when the number of CDs produced is 0. So if that's 49, that means that there's some initial cost. Wherever they're going to produce these CDs, they're going to have to pay an upfront fee or an initial fee of $49. So even if they don't actually produce any CDs, just to go to this company, or it's going to cost them $49. So it says use your equation to find out how much it would cost to produce 50 CDs. So our equation, our function was C of n equals 0.35n plus 49. So number of CDs was n, so we're going to plug in 50 for n. So C of 50 is 0.35 times 50 plus 49. 0.35 times 50 gives us 17.5 plus the initial fee of 49. So the cost of producing 50 CDs can be found by 17.5 plus 49, which is $66.50. So the cost is $66.50.